यस्यान्तर्नादिमध्यं न हि करचरणं नाम गोत्रं न सूत्रं नो जातिर्नैव वर्णं न भवति पुरुषो नो नपुंसं न च स्त्री।
नमस्ते नतलोकबन्धो कारुण्य सिन्धो पतितं भवाब्धौ मामुद्धरात्मीय कटाक्ष दृष्ट्या ऋज्व्याति कारुण्य सुधाभिवृष्ट्या। स्वामिन् नमस्ते स्वामिन् नमस्ते स्वामिन् नमस्ते स्वामिन् namaste. So I am now in front of you with Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is such a text that is like an ocean, and there are beautiful shlokas. It is like an ocean of shlokas, and it is so beautiful. So whenever I have to talk on Bhagavatam, I just get drowned in the shlokas. And if I think that I will take this portion or that portion, when I start reading, I keep reading many other things, which is so beautiful that you cannot stop yourself from reading and contemplating. So I thought today I will talk to you about the sadhana that we saw in Vivek Chudamani, where Guru tells the Shishya about what a Shishya should do to go across this ocean, the worldly ocean, what a Shishya should do. Because I think we still remember that the Shishya came to the Guru and said, I am getting drowned, I am fearful, I do not know how to cross this worldly ocean, which brings so much of sorrow, so much of fear, always affliction. And he asked the question that what is this bondage, where from it comes, on what is it subsisting, and what is the liberation from it. And the Guru talks to him. In that, what he has said, that you have to develop this one-pointedness by constantly drawing the mind from outward to on your own self and think about it. And I was telling you about one shloka where the Guru says, Anatma chintanam tyaktva kashmalam dukkha karanam chintaya atmanam ananda rupam yan mukti karanam. This is, I think, for all of us who are doing sadhana, for any seeker, this is one thing that we have to constantly remember. Why? Because the mind goes to the objects and gets attached because of the desires. It wants many things. When those desires are not fulfilled, there comes either happiness or unhappiness. And when the mind is not trained to take to vichara, viveka, and understand that by allowing the mind to go outwards and enjoying various enjoyments, objects of enjoyment, the mind will only go away from the self remaining where, this is our aim, remaining where we can become fearless. So this was the aim, and the Guru is in all the shlokas, he is saying how one can contemplate on the Atman or Brahman, and ultimately when one realizes what is the state of that realized person. This is what. You know, in Bhagavatam also it is the same thing. What is Bhagavatam? Tapatrayon Moolanam. In the beginning, the shlokas say that we have various kinds of dukkha in this world, in this life. One is Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, and Adhyatmika. Adi Daivika is from nature, like flood, cyclone, earthquake, and all that. Adi Bhautika is from other living beings, like dog bite, snake bite, murders, accidents, and all that. And Adhyatmika, even if in one's own lifetime one is fortunate enough not to face Adi Daivika or Adi Bhautika dukkhas, Adhyatmika dukkha always trouble us and put us into misery. This Adhyatmika dukkhas we have dealt in detail, which comes because of the gunas of the mind. In Viveki Chudamani, we have discussed these things. So these are the common dukkhas of people. So Bhagavata is a text which assures us, right in the beginning it says that it is tapatraya unmoolanam. And what is inside that? You know what is Bhagavatam? It says, Yasyam vai Shruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe. Today my voice is bad. I think by chanting so much. Yesterday, voice is gone. Yasyam vai Shruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktirutpadyate Pumsaha Shokamoha Bhayapaha Yasyam vai Shruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktirutpadyate Pumsaha Shokamoha Bhayapaha. It says that this Bhagavatam is such a text listening to which what will man gain? Bhaktirutpadyate pumsaha. Listening to whom? About whom it is written in this book or this text? It is about Krishna. Yasyam vai shruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe. If we hear about the Paramapurusha, Sri Krishna, Sri Hari, then what man will gain is bhakti. Bhaktirutpadyate pumsaha. Any person who listens to this Bhagavatam, bhakti will get generated. And what that bhakti does? Shoka, moha, bhayapaha. That bhakti is such that it takes away shoka, that is sorrow, moha, delusion, and bhaya. We are always troubled by these things, shoka, moha, and bhaya. And that is why we are not able to be happy in this world. And this shloka in Bhagavatam, it gives us an assurance that all your tapatraya will be removed and you will be rid of all fear, all dukkha, and all delusion. That is what is everybody's question. It is not a question which has been raised in this book. It is everybody's question, because everybody wants to be rid of shoka, moha and bhaya. And how was this book composed? I think it will be interesting to know this. Before that, I would like to chant another shloka, which also gives a confidence and assurance. It says, Avismriti Krishna padaravindayoh Shrinotya bhadrani shamam tanoti cha Sattvasya shuddhim paramatma bhaktim Jnanam cha vijnana viraga yuktam Avismriti Krishna padaravindayoh Shrinotya bhadrani shamam tanoti cha Avismriti Krishna padaravindayoh Shrinotya bhadrani shamam tanoti cha Sattvasya shuddhim paramatma bhaktim Jnanam cha vijnana viraga yuktam. This is what is Bhagavatam. It says that if we can remember Sri Krishna's holy lotus feet, Padaravindayoho, Pada Aravindayoho, Aravinda is lotus. The two lotus feet of Sri Krishna, if we can constantly remember, then what will happen? Shinoti abhadrani. Shinoti abhadrani. Abhadra is what? All the impurities, all the defects of the mind, all those traits which disturb the mind, those are abhadra. All these abhadra traits, the disturbing traits, will simply get shinam. That is, it will simply decay. It will become less and disappear. Shinotya bhadrani shamam tanoti cha. And when all those disturbing elements will go away from the mind, what will happen? The mind will become calm. All the vasanas will go, and because of the vasana, the traits that we have been talking about, which bring in disturbances, all that will go. And so what will happen? The mind will become calm. Just like in Vivek Chudamani we saw, when there is no fuel for burning, the fire becomes absolutely cold. It cannot burn again. And these traits, the disturbing traits are like that in the mind. As long as those traits are there, the mind is disturbed. If those are removed, the mind will automatically become calm. Shinotya bhadrani shamam tanoti cha sattvasya suddhim. The whole being will become purified. So, how the purity takes place here? This shloka is saying, just remember, keep on remembering Sri Hari's holy lotus feet. Chintaya Atmanam Ananda Rupam. This is what we have to do here also. We are constantly thinking about Sri Krishna. We are constantly hearing about Sri Krishna, Sri Hari. We are contemplating on him. It says, Rupa Chintana, Guna Kirtana, and Leela Smarana. That is what is necessary to develop bhakti for Sri Hari. Rupa Chintana, Guna Kirtana, and Leela Smarana. Rupa Chintana means think about his beautiful form. Guna Kirtana, you sing his glory. All his sports and his glory, all his excellences, sing about them. Listen and sing. And Leela Smarana, sit and think about what all he did. Think about his devotees. All that you do. Once we do that, we engage our mind in all that, what will happen? love will grow for God. Love will grow for him. Love will grow for Sri Krishna. And Sattvasya Shuddhim, the whole being getting purified, what will happen? Sattvasya Shuddhim, Paramatma Bhaktim, the whole being getting purified. There will be no other thought except for the thought of God. And there will be more and more devotion and love for him. Jnanam cha vijnana viraga yuktam. And by that, what will happen? Sri Hari, Sri Krishna, who is nothing but ourself, he is the indweller, he is the self. We will be gaining knowledge about him, and when that knowledge we will be established also because of bhakti, because of this knowledge. More and more vairagya will be generated, and as vairagya gets generated, so there will be more and more bhakti. Bhaktihi viraktihi bhagavat prabodhaha. This is what is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll come to it later. Now, I want to tell you how this book was composed. Who composed it? I think all of you know, or most of you know. It was composed by Vyasa. You know, Vyasa divided the Vedas in 4 parts. The Veda, which we know, Rik, Sama, Yajuhu, and Atharva. The original Veda was divided by Vyasa Deva because he felt that many people will be able to understand the Veda then. It was so huge and so vast. So he thought that he will divide into 4 parts. And people who are having nishtha, they are steadfast in this pursuit, they will be able to go through them, and slowly they will pursue this path of liberation. Now, after some time he thought that only the Brahmins are eligible for reading the Vedas. What about the others? The Shudras, the Vaishyas, and Kshatriyas. What about the women? They are not allowed to read. So how will they have lofty ideas? How will their mind get rid of these external objects and aspire and ultimately realize that ultimate truth? So, taking from Vedas, through stories and through many kinds of episodes, he brought about and he composed Mahabharata so that anybody and everybody can read it, and the values and the knowledge which is there in Veda was also composed there, also spread through all the composition. He also did the Brahma Sutras. He also composed the Brahma Sutras because there were people who were very much given to yukti, this rational arguments and all that. So for them, for their facility, he also composed Brahma Sutra. Now, having done all this, actually he should be very happy because he has thought about the society, that he started seeing that there is a lot of degeneration in the society, and whatever the Vedas are trying to tell us, people are not able to understand and not follow that. That is why he thought that let me divide into 4 parts so that it becomes easier for people to know it. And then for common masses, he wrote Mahabharata. And for most intelligent one, he wrote Brahma Sutra. But he found that in spite of doing so much for the society, his mind was not at peace. Actually, he should be very happy that he has done so much work for Lokasangraha, but he was not happy. Not only that, he found that even though he has done all this, what was his intention? That his intention was that through all this, people should slowly understand that happiness is not obtained from outside objects. That the happiness that we are getting interacting with the world or objects, it is impermanent. It doesn't satisfy us. It is very, very short-lived. This was his one intention. Then, secondly, he thought that reading Mahabharata, the common mass, and reading the Vedas, slowly people will understand that we have to go look into our inside, look within, and search for the Atma, so that we develop love for God, devotion for God, or nishtha to know the self. And people will work for mukti. He found that that was also not happening. So he was quite dissatisfied and quite disturbed. So he was one day sitting in his ashram. From the ashram he went nearby, the Saraswati river was there. He went there and he was sitting there just contemplating and thinking, why my mind is like this? At that time, Narada came. So, Narada tells him, see, it was a very nice scene. We should all imagine it. Who is Narada? He is the Jnani, Bhakti Shrestha. He has realized, but he has realized and not gone into a cave or forest. He has taken to the task of roaming about in the whole of universe singing the glory of the Lord. And that is how he has come there. Walking, wandering, he has come there. And he finds Vyasa sitting by the riverside, and gloomy. And they meet. And who is Vyasa? Vyasa is one of the best of the Jnanis. So both have met. So Vyasa gets up, gives Narada a seat, and Narada asks him, looking at him, what has happened? You don't look very happy. Is anything troubling you? What is that? Actually, you should be very happy. I thought that I'll see you very, very satisfied and peaceful. Because you have done so much for the society. It's not easy to divide the Vedas. Such vast knowledge is there. And write Mahabharata, which also has so many shlokas. Then writing Brahma Sutra. It has taken you so much time. So much austerity you have gone through. I thought I'll see you. Actually, I came here to see you. And I find you are not satisfied. What is it that is going on in your mind? So, he says, I don't know myself. Hey Narad, I don't know myself. You please tell me what is lacking in me so that I am not happy. Then you know what Narada told him? Narada said that you have not adequately described the pure glory of the Lord in your composition. You have written Mahabharata, no doubt, but there you have not talked about the glory of the Lord. So, whatever you have written, it doesn't mean anything. It lacks devotional exuberance and it doesn't give any satisfaction to people. And how you have exhaustively written about the rites, rituals and all that, you have not written exhaustively about God. So, you must write something. I tell you that you must meditate upon the Lord, Sri Hari, meditate upon Him, sit somewhere and try to think about God's Leela. What He did, how He came to this earth, took this form, He got manifested, and what all He did. Think about His Leela and please write something about Him so that devotion, it is full of devotion, and whoever reads it will be flooded with devotion, will progress in devotion, and through that devotion will be able to get united with God. So this is what Narada said. He said, this is the shloka, Bhavatánudita prayam yasho bhagavato malam yenai vasau natushyeta manye tad darshanam khilam. This is 1.5.8. I have not been able to give any handout to be projected in the screen. Time was very less, but maybe we can give later. So he has said that you have not sung the glory of the Lord. And he also says that, see, you are atho mahabhaga bhavan amoghadrik shuchishravaha satyarato dhritavrataha urukramasyakhila bandha muktaye samadhina anusmara tadvicheshtitam. Atho mahabhaga bhavan amoghadrik shuchishravaha satyarato dhritavrataha urukramasyakhila bandha muktaye samadhina anusmara tadvicheshtitam. So samadhina, you remember God's Leela and you try to compose something. You will be able to do it, I know, because you are Shuchishravaha. Your fame is everywhere. And what is that fame? A pure fame. Everybody knows your glory. Satyarataha. You are given to truthfulness, ever devoted to truth. And you are amoghadrik. You have unerring insight. Dhrita vrataha. You are devoted to whatever you will take up. So, please do this. You know that as long as people have vasana, their mind will not turn to God. So somehow or other, for this common mass of people who are householders, who do not have so much of vairagya to leave the house, go to the forest and take to sadhana or take to the contemplation of the self, for them, for their benefit, write a composition which will only be on Sri Hari. And through that composition, you also lead people to the path of mukti. So, Vedavyasa sat by the side of the river and he started writing. In this writing, he made Vasudeva the supreme. And he says that leaving everything, one should do bhajana for him. Vasudeva para veda, Vasudeva para makhaha, Vasudeva para yogaha, Vasudeva para kriyaha, Vasudeva param jnanam, Vasudeva param tapaha, Vasudeva paro dharmo, Vasudeva para gatihi. This is what he says. And who is Vasudeva? That shloka actually I do not remember that shloka, where Vasudeva is nothing but Brahman. All the qualities of Brahman is in Vasudeva. All the qualities of Brahman Vasudeva. We are thinking, when we think of Bhakti and Srihari, we are actually thinking of somebody with a form. You know, as in Bhagavad Gita also it says that it is quite difficult to think about the abstract Brahman, whom we have not seen, we do not know. But he is the unaffected, he is the eternal, he is the imperishable. But it is difficult to constantly remember and constantly contemplate on Brahman for ordinary people. Ordinary people, they like to have a form. So that is why Lord has got manifested in this form as Vishnu, as Srihari, Bhagavan Krishna. But we must know that he has the characteristics of Brahman himself. And what happened to Parikshit? Parikshit, after he started listening to Shukadeva, Parikshit, as he went on listening, he went on contemplating. His mind was mukta samasta sangaha. He had completely focused his mind on the Lord's characteristics, on everybody, all the gunas of a bhakta, he had focused upon. And by doing that contemplation, at the end, he got united with his own self. He neither remembered Takshaka, he neither remembered his body, he neither remembered that he is going to be bitten by Takshaka and that he is going to die. Everything became one and one Brahman. So, this is what happens. Now, Vyasa, who had composed Brahma Sutra even, he now thought that for the benefit of human beings, as suggested by Narada, I will write this book, Bhagavatam, and he composed it. Now, what does this bhajana or worship of Vasudeva, what does it give us? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu vairagyam Jnanam cha yadahaitukam Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu vairagyam Jnanam cha yadahaitukam. So, this bhakti, when we develop bhakti on Lord Vasudeva or Srihari, it gives us vairagya, it gives us jnana. And what kind of bhakti? Ahaituki bhakti. Unmotivated. The bhakti doesn't depend on anything. It's not that because you are doing, oh God, you are fulfilling all my desires, so I am becoming more and more your bhakta. It is not like that. The bhakti is absolutely pure. It has no reason, no motive. It just melts. Those who progress in devotion, they don't want anything. They don't even want mukti from the Lord. So now, after Vedavyasa composed this, Vedavyasa thought, now I have composed this. How is it going to be disseminated to people? We all think that Vasudeva is Lord Hari. And who is Lord Hari? With 4 hands and all that. But in Bhagavatam, it is a Paramahamsa Samhita. As Swamiji said yesterday, 80% is Vedanta. So Vasudeva is defined like this. Jnanam vishuddham paramarthamekam anantaram tvabhahibramha satyam pratyak prashantam Bhagavat Shabda Samyam Yadvasudevam Kavayo Vadanti Jnanam Vishuddham Paramarthamekam Anantaram tu Bahirbrahma Satyam Pratyak Prashantam Bhagavat Shabda Samyam Yadvasudevam Kavayo Vadanti. The ultimate truth is what the sages call as Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the ultimate truth. This is 5th skandha, 12th verse, 12th chapter and 11th verse. So he is the support of all. He is Vishuddha Jnanam. He is the support of everything. He is Bhagavan. He is described variously as knowledge, Jnanam, absolute purity, Vishuddham, the real existence, the one without a second. He is inside and outside. Brahman is everywhere. Brahman is one without a second. So inside and outside, he is pervaded. He is the Brahman. He is all inclusive. And he is peaceful. That is called Vasudevam. So, in this Bhagavatam, Vedavyasa had tried to highlight who is God, what are his characteristics, who are the devotees, what are the characteristics of devotees, what is devotion, and how just by hearing and listening and remembering him, contemplating on him, you can reach that Lord in your own heart and you become liberated. This is what he has said. And in all these skandhas and chapters, he has described the devotees and their devotion. You know, I used to think whenever I would read Bhagavatam, I would think, why in so many chapters God has been described. This is, his nose is like this, his mouth is like this, his lips are like this, his face is like this, his hands are like this, his chest is like this, thighs are like this. And what all vibhushana or the alankara, the jewelry he is wearing, all that. How is his smile? And initially when I started reading Bhagavatam, I used to wonder, why again and again, again and again? Then I understood. Because Vedavyasa is trying to hammer that rupa in my mind. So, once we read them, we think about them, maybe we sing them, 1 or 2 lines we like and we by heart and sing. And maybe while we are sitting alone or lying on the bed, we think about that rupa. Then you become that rupa maya. In everything you see him and him alone. This is the aim of Vedavyasa. This is the aim of Bhagavatam. To be constantly talking about God, to be constantly talking about his excellences, to be constantly talking about his Leela as a human being like Sri Krishna, and impress upon your mind that purity, so that everything else, all the impurities from your mind goes away. And it is so sweet. Yat shinvatam rasa jnanam swadu swadu pade pade. All these Munish and Rishis who were wanting to know about Bhagavatam from Sutta, they said that it is so full of nectar that it is swadu swadu pade pade. Every word is sweet. Every word is filled with honey. I think all those who go through Bhagavatam, I don't have to tell them. But you cannot but tell also. It is so sweet. That is why I was telling Namrata, I have a difficulty to talk on Bhagavatam. Because when I sit with the book, everything, whatever I have got a topic, I have to conform to the topic. So I would be trying to find out those shlokas which I can use for my topic. But the next one, maybe it's not to be used in this lecture, but it's so sweet that I will read that, then I will read the other one, then I will read the other one. By that time, my time of reading has gone. And I have not been able to make a small note or some points. This always happens. When generally, for so many years now, I am talking in the Satram. And I really feel blessed to be talking about Sri Krishna, Sri Hari. Because while talking so, the mind becomes full with nectar. So now Vedavyasa thought, I have written such a book. It's full of nectar. Now how will I disseminate it? Who will listen to me? Those days, mostly people were given to Brahmanishtha. So will they like to even listen about it? Will they like to listen about the Leelas of God? But then who will take to this? Or who will feel that yes, this is also something through which one can attain God? The people at that time, they were given to Brahmanishtha. So he thought it will be very difficult to make the Munis and Rishis feel confident or convince them that even through bhakti, the Lord or Brahman can be reached. So he thought, let me teach this to my son, Shuka, who from his very birth, Shukadeva was born, he is the Manasa Putra. He was born and he just left the house and started walking. Thinking of what? Completely immersed in Brahmachintana, he left. He was naked. He was going and going. And Vedavyasa, he developed Sangha for the son. So he started going behind him, crying, "Oh Putra, hey Putra, come back. But Putra was not at all looking back. He just walked off. There's a very beautiful story there. While Vedavyasa was running behind Shukadeva, he passed a sort of a pond or river where some beautiful women, they were taking bath. So naturally their dresses were not in proper place. So when Vedavyasa went by their side, they immediately tried to cover themselves. So Vedavyasa stood there and said, "This is very strange. My son, who is naked, and he also passed all of you, but you had no reaction. But I, who is completely well dressed, you find embarrassment seeing me?" So they said, "O Rishi, you still have Bheda Darshana. Your son does not have. He is dwelling in Brahman, where there is no Bheda Darshana as man and woman. That is why, since he did not have any Bheda Darshana, we were not feeling shy. But in your mind, because you have asked us this question, it is quite clear that you have Bheda Darshana. And that is why when you came here, we felt shy and we are trying to cover ourselves." So Vedavyasa thought, I will teach it to my son, Shuka. And why he decided so? There is a beautiful shloka here. Atma ramascha munayo nirgrantha apyurukrame kurvantaghaitukim bhaktim Itham bhuta guno harihi. So, this Munis, like Shukadeva, he was Atma Rama. He does not need any learning or anything. But he is very, very fond of God's Leela and also fond of the devotees. So, he will be the right person to know this Bhagavata, Bhakti text, Bhagavatam. And if he talks about it, everybody will feel convinced and this can be the way. So, Vyasa Deva called his son and told him that this is Bhagavatam, please listen to me. And I give you the task of spreading it to mankind. So, Shukadeva learned that Bhagavatam. And after that, he was again walking. And walkingly, when he reached this Ganga where Parikshit was sitting in Prayopavesha, he was going through there. Then Parikshit asked him the question and Shukadeva started replying him. So, I had told you how Shukadeva started his reply. Shukadeva first of all said that you have asked a very beautiful question and it is approved by all those who know the self. And your question and whatever I tell you will be for Lokahita. He said that there are many things in this world to be known. But out of that, nobody wants to hear about the Atma. People are busy with their family. They spend their time mostly in sleep, and rest of the time when they are awake, they are busy looking after the family or earning money for the family. So they don't have any time to think of the Atma. They do not understand that by not knowing of the Atma, not trying to know that indweller, the one's own self, and trying to pursue this path where we can have the union with God, which will only take away our shoka, bhaya and moha. Developing bhakti for God, all this will be removed. They are not knowing about that. They do not want to know about that also. So, what I tell you, O Raja, you are afraid that on the 7th day you will be bitten by Takshaka. You are fearful and you are wanting to know what you should think about, what you should remember, what you should chant, what bhajana or worship you should do. So I tell you that he says, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Haririshwaraha Shrotavyaha Kirtitavyascha Smartavyaha Icchatabhayam. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Haririshwaraha Shrotavyaha Kirtitavyascha Smartavyaha Icchatabhayam. So if you want to remove your fear, what you should do is, you should listen to him. Listen about him. Kirtitavyasya. You sing his glory. And smartavyaha. Also remember him. Contemplate on him. This is what he said. And Shukadeva then started talking about how a devotee should develop bhakti. You know how a devotee should develop bhakti? He should see the life of the devotees. He should see how the devotees who have attained God, what all characteristics they have. You know, it is Yesterday we did Viveka Chudamani and today we are doing Bhagavatam. Nowhere the pursuit is different. In Viveka Chudamani also, at the end, what does the Guru say? He is describing those who have attained self-realization. And what did we discuss? Yani sthitaprajnasya lakshanani tani eva sadhanani. Whatever are the lakshanas of a sthitaprajna or a self-realized person, those are the sadhana of common man, those who are seeking. So for a devotee also it is so. For a devotee also you have to look at the devotees and find out and understand what are the noble qualities they have. Find out, search, not the stories in Bhagavatam. Search out where all God has told what a devotee should be like. And you will find everywhere it is the same. As in Bhagavad Gita, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, like that, Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, Ahimsa, Kshanti Rarjavam. And in Bhagavad Gita, so many qualities of Bhakta has been written and told by Krishna to Arjuna. Similarly, here you will find that Krishna is telling Uddhava, Krishna is through Rishabha he is telling, through Kapila he is saying, the different qualities that a jnani or a Mahatma or the greatest Bhakta must have. Now, 11th Skandha, at one time, there was King Nimi who was doing a big satra, and there came Navayogis. So King Nimi told them, when he saw them, they came there, he welcomed them, received them, worshipped them, and he asked them. First he said, Durlabho manusho deho dehinam kshanabhanguraha tatrapi durlabham manye vaikuntha priyadarshanam. He said that this body is durlabha and dehinam kshanabhanguraha, and the body and this body is Shanabhangura and it is Durlabha, it is very rare and it is impermanent. Tatrapi Durlabham Manye, but more rare is what? Vaikuntha Priyadarshanam. Some devotee who is the best of a devotee, like you all, Vaikuntha Priyadarshanam, whom the God likes, to meet such devotees is very, very rare. That is, meeting a Mahatma who has all the qualities which God likes, God wants them to have, that Mahatma has such attained and acquired all those qualities, it is very rare to have. So, Durlabho manusho deho dehinam kshanabhanguraha tatrapi durlabham manye vaikuntha priyadarshanam. So, saying that, he says, Ata atyantikam kshemam prichhamo bhavato nagaha samsaresmin kshanardhopi satsanga shevadhirdrinam. And he says that in this world, even for half a second, if we have satsanga, it is something very rare and it is always good for us. So now that you all have come, 9 of you, please tell us what is the atyantikam shemam, that is what is ultimately good for us. Please tell us. See, we have in Viveka Chudamani, we have seen Durlabham trayamevaitat devanugraha hetukam manusyatyam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshrayaha. So here also he is saying the same thing. This Raja, though he is a Raja, he knows the value of satsanga. He is saying that it is very rare to have the company of Mahatmas like you And once I have had this association, and along with me so many others, please tell us what is the ultimate good for us. We are always under fear, always under stress, always anxious. So please tell us what is the ultimate good. So he says, Manye akutaschid bhayamachyutasya padambujopasanamatra nityam udvigna buddhera sadatma bhavad vishvatmana yatra nivartate bhihi manye akutaschid bhayamachyutasya padambujopasanamatra nityam udvigna buddhera sadatma bhavad vishvatmana yatra nivartate bhihi. He said that to become fearless, your questions are that how to become fearless. To become fearless, what we have to do is we should worship the holy lotus feet of Achyuta. Who is Achyuta? Who has no movement. There is no Chuti. Chuti means reflection or movement. Achyuta name is because of that. He is that one changeless, eternal, imperishable. He is Sri Hari. He is Sri Krishna. So, we must worship him, considering that he is Achyuta. And we get fearful because we are considering all these impermanent items in the world, which is unreal, to be real, and we think that we will get happiness out of it, but we don't get. So, we are asad atma bhavat. Whatever is not real, considering them real, we are holding on to them. We are not holding on to Achyuta. Although all the objects of the world, they are impermanent, they are changeful, we are holding on to it, and unreal things we are thinking real. That is why we are having udvignata. The buddhi is udvigna. That is why we are anxious. That is why we are fearful. And that to bring an end to that fear, what we should do is we should hold on to Achyuta, who is absolutely changeless. This is what he says. And he says that all that you do with your hand, with your words, with your actions, with your body, all you surrender. Do everything thinking that you are doing it for the Lord. This is what you should do. And he says, this is the one of the Navayogis, Kavi, he is saying, it is what he feels like talking. What is the question? Please tell us what is the ultimate good in this world. So he is saying that if you want to become fearless, worship Lord Hari. And how will you develop bhakti for him? You sing about him. Think about him. Cry with bhakti. This is what he is saying. Shrinvan subhadrani rathangapane janmani karmani chayani loke gitani namani tadarthakani gayan vilajjo vichareda sangah evam vrata swapriya nama kirtya jatanurago druta chitta uchchaihi hasatyatho roditi rauti gayati unmadavan nrityati lokabahyaha kham vayumagnim salilam mahim cha jyotimshi sattvani dishodrumadin Sarit samudramscha hare shariram yatkim cha bhutam pranamedananyaha bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktihi अन्यत्र चैषत्रिक एककालः प्रपद्यमानस्य यथाश्नतस्युः तुष्टिः पुष्टिः शुदपायोऽनुघासम् शृण्वन् सुभद्राणि रथाङ्गपाणेः. Listen about the very beautiful excellences, the glories and the sports of the Lord. And sing, you also sing without shame, without having lajja. You sing and roam about. Develop devotion for him. Take his name, the name which is Evam Vratasva Priyanama Kirtya Jata Anuragaha. Take his name so much so that you will become a devotee. You will have so much of love for him. And you sometimes may laugh, sometimes may cry, sometimes you may be shoutingly taking his name, but do all that. Also, think and look at this whole world. Kham vayumagnim salilam mahim cha jyotimshi sattvani disho drumadin sarit samudramscha hare shariram yatkincha bhutam pranamedananyaha. Kham, the akasha, the sky, vayu, the wind, agni, the fire, salilam, the water, mahim is earth, jyotimshi, all the celestial objects, sattvani, all the beings, dishaha, all the directions, drumadim, all the plants and trees, sarit, the rivers, and samudra, the oceans. Consider them as what? Hare shariram. Consider everything as the Lord Hari's body. That is what? Consider the Lord to be pervading everywhere. Wherever he is, everywhere, wherever we see, we sit, we talk, we look, everywhere, everything. This table, this light, this camera, that all that I can see, outside and inside, everything is Hare Shariram. And thinking so, becoming united with that thought, Yatkincha bhutam pranamedananyaha. Then what we will do? Whomever we see will feel like doing a pranam. Because in that I am seeing the Lord and Lord alone. It says that just like when we take food, the food at one time, it gives us satisfaction, it quenches our hunger, and it gives us strength. Three things happens together. What? If we give strength, we become happy and we become contented. It gives us strength also. Just like that, bhaktihi, viraktihi, bhagavat prabodhaha. As we develop bhakti, how we develop bhakti? Just by singing his name, listening to him, and contemplating on him. And mind you, it's not only that. To be cultivating the gunas of a bhakta, we have to cultivate the gunas of the best of bhaktas. The qualities of best of bhaktas we have to cultivate. In that case, what will happen? We will be also getting bhakti. Immediately, the bhakti will take our mind away from the word, because we will like the Lord and Lord alone. Nothing else will be interesting to us. Nothing else will be alluring to us. Nothing else in this world will attract us except for the Lord and his face and his glory. And What will the mind want? It will want to be united with the Lord in the heart. So, this is what will happen. Bhaktihi, viraktihi, bhagavat prabodhaha. And we will be united with the Lord. We'll have the jnana of the Lord inside our heart. Adhokshajalam hamiha shubhatmanah sharirina samsriti chakrashatanam tad brahma nirvana sukham vidurbudhaha tato bhajadvam hridaye hridishwaram. Adhokshajalam bhamiha shubhatmanah sharirina samsriti chakrashatanam tad brahma nirvana sukham vidurbudhaha tato bhajadvam hridaye hridishwaram. Tato bhajadvam hridaye hridishwaram. Tato bhajadvam hridaye hridishwaram. It says that if we contemplate on the Lord, having developed all the qualities which will make our mind calm and tranquil, which would have taken away all the disturbances from the mind, by which we would have become pure in our being. In doing so, what will happen? Slowly we will find that adhokshajalambham, adhokshaja's embrace, the embrace of the Lord inside our heart, that brahma nirvana sukham vidurbudhaha. The panditas, the jnanis, they call it the embrace of the Lord. When the mind will be contemplating on the Lord, forgetting everything, forgetting all the attachments and everything of this world, and when the mind is very, very pure, at that time, we will feel the embrace of the Lord inside our heart and will be dipped or floating in Brahma Nirvana Sukham. That is the Brahma Sparsha. The mind will be united with the Lord. This is what the Bhagavatam assures us. This is what the Bhagavatam tells us. And it says, it pleads with the devotees that, oh devotees, just read it, listen to it, sing it, and contemplate on the messages that Bhagavatam is giving, and also trying to become pure by cultivating the qualities of bhakta. Tato bhajadvam hridaye hridishwaram. And you worship the Lord within your own heart. You will be united with the Lord. All your fear will be gone in that case. Manye akutaschid bhayam achyutasya padambujopasanamatra nityam. Udvigna buddhehe asad atma bhavad vishwatmana yatra nivartate bhihi. When we become vishwatmana, we become one with the self, one with the Lord, and one with this whole world. Hare Shariram. There is nothing else. Only He and He. God and God everywhere. And I am that. When that happens, where is Bhaya? Who will, when only duality is there, then fear can be. Who will become fearful of what? Who will become angry with whom? Only the Lord will be there. Brahman will be there. This is why in Bhagavatam it is said, Vadanti tat tattva vidaha tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. That when this advaya jnana is had, and it is said that what is Brahman? That alone is Paramatma, and that alone is called Bhagavan. This is what. So, I don't know whether you have at least got a glimpse of what this Bhagavatam is. And we should read this and try to develop ourselves through bhakti. Time is up. I have taken 5 minutes more, I think. When we talk about Bhagavatam, always we feel everything has not been told. So many things could have been told. Because in this devotion, what happens is this. We start seeing God everywhere. Start seeing the Lord everywhere. He moves with us. He sits with us. That is why this devotional text becomes easier. Because common man, we understand form. So we worship. And we want to have somebody on whom we can unburden ourselves. We can tell all our sukha and dukkha. And we want to worship Him with all our heart. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhididitam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam srimadatam bhuvi grinanti te bhurida jana tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhididitam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam srimadatam bhuvi grinanti te bhurida jana virachita bhayam vrishnidhuryate charanamiyusham samsriter bhayat karasaroruham kantakamadam shirasi dhehina shrikaragraham virachita bhayam vrishnidhuryate charanamiyusham samsriter bhayat karasaroruham kantakamadam shirasi dhehina shrikaragraham. It says, O Lord, please keep your hand on our head. That hand that offers protection from samsara to those who seek refuge at thy feet. Please keep your hand on our head. The nectar of thy excellences revives the scorched spirit of man. It purifies the sinner, while holy men sing about it. To hear it is itself auspicious and peace-generating. They are the real gift makers who spread thy name far and wide. They are the real gift makers who spread your name far and wide. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam. I feel I could have spoken some more time. Okay. It's quite some time I've taken. It is very back to back at this time. The prayer should start. But I think at least a little bit we have been able to touch the true bhakti, which is motiveless. It doesn't want anything. Doesn't want anything. It just wants to feel the Lord in the heart and remain drowned in that nectar. That's all. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru.